Yeah, it is a beautiful day, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty decent week, too, as well. All right, we have Paul Blume in the studio with me now because earlier today, Christian Castro, he's the ICE agent, was released from a Texas jail, and this comes after a lengthy battle between Texas Governor Greg Abbott and also Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Paul, I feel like we've been talking about this every day for the last maybe like 3-4 days, just really in the weeds on it. But this popped this morning. Castro out of jail as of what you said, 6:59 this morning?
6:59. The sheriff down there in Texas has confirmed that. I know some media was waiting for him, so there are images posted of Castro getting out. Yeah, the sun came up and he was out. I mean, we knew this could happen. We're no longer in the weeds.
Because this was deadline day, right?
This was the 90th day. And in Texas law, we've talked about this. A fugitive can be held without a warrant for 90 days in the state of Texas. And we've hit that. He was arrested May 29th. Today is August 27th. This is what Minnesota officials were so concerned about, and that is why they went into court last week asking two things. One was for the extradition. Governor Abbott wasn't going to budge on that. The other thing they had asked was a very specific request to this district court judge down in Texas. Please give us an emergency temporary restraining order so that we can keep Agent Castro behind bars while the whole extradition process plays out. We did it as breaking news yesterday. The governor rejected Minnesota's request. He said basically in his order that until Governor Abbott actually doesn't sign, rejects the extradition warrant outright, at that point, then Minnesota could possibly bring back the lawsuit, but for now it's not ripe, it's not appropriate. He doesn't have really jurisdiction to act on it because Abbott right now is reviewing the case. He wants to know whether or not, by definition, is Christian Castro a fugitive of the law. So while he's reviewing that, at least that's what he says, Minnesota calls it politics, he doesn't have to, he hasn't made an up or down decision. It's still hanging out there. And basically the judge said he knows Christian Castro will likely walk free, which he did today. Possibly goes to Mexico. Again, another concern Minnesota has is that he's going to go right across the border. He's got a girlfriend, lover, his future wife is in Mexico. So Minnesota worries once he crosses the border, if he does, they'll have lost him probably, maybe not forever, but it makes it a lot harder for the feds then to get involved and have to bring him back through an international extradition. I mean, it's possible, but Minnesota officials hated that this day came, and we have some comments from Keith Ellison. If we want to post those up on screen, I can kind of share a little bit of what the Attorney General had to say. Obviously, he's the lead attorney in this case on behalf of Governor Walz. There's a statement. Federal law, or maybe it's not quite up on your screen yet. I'm seeing it there. There it goes. Federal law, the laws of every state, and the U.S. Constitution require states to extradite fugitives, period. This is not politics. This is not a game. There are traumatized victims in Minnesota awaiting accountability and justice. But Greg Abbott is playing the political game of turning Texas into a sanctuary state for accused felons and violent criminals. This hurts the victims of crime and hurts the residents of Texas. And that was part of a longer statement the Attorney General had today. So Simone, he's out. And now we kind of have to sort of take, do the calculus from this point forward as an agent who's no longer in custody and what that looks like for justice going forward.
That's exactly what I was going to get to, because, I mean, for some of the people who may not remember, Castro, of course, involved in this incident that happened in Minneapolis. It was it started as reports of, was it a shovel involved, a broom involved in an incident. I can't remember the man's name.
Julio Sosa
yes,
Solis.
Sosa Solis.
So mid-January, between the two fatal shootings, so Renee Good and Alex Preddy, there's some type of traffic stop that they attempted. Not clear who he was, Castro and his partner were looking for, but they end up at this house in North Minneapolis. Castro would shoot the Venezuelan national who was fleeing from the scene. He created a narrative that he said he had been attacked by with a shovel and a broom handle. There was a shovel close by, but surveillance video from the city of Minneapolis would not show some sort of extended altercation or anything. So he's been charged. He fires into the home. You know, the Sosa Solis is fleeing into the home. There are children in the home. It's filled with family members. He shoots. Sosa Solis is wounded in the leg, non-life-threatening injuries. Castro, the ICE agent, is accused of lying, and that's part of the criminal charges he faces. It's 4 felony counts for the assault, for the shooting, and then a single count of lying, fabricating, lying to report a crime, and that's a lower level offense. But Minnesota had this nationwide arrest warrant for him. He was taken into custody. Texas Rangers, feds, the BCA all kind of worked together. They found him down in Texas. That's where he had been reassigned by ICE. ICE moved him back to Texas after the shooting. And you have to remember the immigrants that he was pursuing, including the man shot, were first charged by the feds for their supposed crimes in this. And you may remember the Department of Justice had to drop the charges against those men and had to acknowledge, and did acknowledge, that this ICE agent had lied about what had taken place. And that's what has Minnesota officials so frustrated. We know a federal investigation is ongoing. The feds could eventually charge this guy, and they had him in custody. They had him in custody for 3 months, and they just cannot believe how and why Greg Abbott would allow this day to come.
So is that where you have the playing politics part of it? Exactly.
You know, I mean, it is a red state. It's a Republican state, and you and I have talked about what Greg Abbott said just off the cuff. I mean, it's bluster, it's political bluster, but he ripped Governor Walz, he ripped the fraud. He said Minnesota
focus on fraud.
Minnesota should pay it back before I ever pay back the fraud that was stolen from the American taxpayer, before I ever take a look at this issue. I mean, that's not the arguments they made on legal paper. They're very much, you know, Abbott is legally is saying that I'm not even sure Castro's considered a fugitive because he was operating under the guise of, you know, a federal law enforcement agency. He was assigned to Minnesota. He was assigned back to Texas. He hasn't run from anything. So his question is he a fugitive of the law? He's having his Secretary of State answer that question until he gets a full investigation from his Secretary of State. He's not going to up or down make a decision on the actual extradition warrant, but clearly now the 90 days have expired. Where Christian Castro goes from here, we don't know. Minnesota officials don't know.
That's the question.
He's been on the phone. They've been monitoring his jailhouse phone calls in Spanish to his lover down in Mexico. They're talking about being together forever. A colleague of ours used to work down by the border. He tells me it's a 5-minute walk from this jail across the border, a crossing point. So not that it's impossible to get somebody out of Mexico. I had one law enforcement official tell me yesterday, you know, an ICE agent who's considered by some to be a fugitive, who shot at immigrants, who's part of Operation Metro Surge, may not be the safest place for him down in Mexico right now. You know what I mean? You know, that he's not exactly.
Big picture.
If you're, you know, you're thinking like, oh, I'm going to go hide and disappear into Mexico. Well, if you're this face and you're this guy who shot at, you know, immigrants up in Minnesota, you know, might not be the most comfortable and safest place for you. But regardless, he's free. He's out. He's, you know, and how difficult it is to find him moving forward, I obviously don't know.
But can he still continue in policing? What does that look like?
Well, that's a great question. I did submit an inquiry to the Department of Homeland Security today just to understand what his status is as a federal agent. Now they've been reluctant to speak publicly on any of their agents. You know, they don't even basically identify them by names, if fear doxing or whatever. My guess is at this point this case is so huge they'll have to acknowledge something. I do seem to remember reading at some point that he was on some sort of suspension, you know, temporary leave while they investigated, you know, his alleged lying and the shooting itself. I mean, the feds are investigating both. We do know that. They're investigating the circumstances of the shooting, a civil rights investigation. We also know they are investigating just the lying, the making up of the story.
So that is still ongoing at this point.
That is, and we, you know, there were reports this week that the feds were getting really close to actually possibly charging, so where they could have stepped in and then maybe taken him right into federal custody. That did not happen this morning. My understanding was they are close to making a charging decision, and we likely will see federal charges eventually, but that's a big ask. That's all the way up, right? That's got to go to the top of the DOJ. I mean, to charge their own federal agent with a crime. But I'm told they're getting close, obviously not close enough here to take him right into custody, right? Like when he was released today, he went into a car, the media was there, left it just before 7 a.m. as the sun came up. he was released. So clearly the paperwork was all in place for this to happen right away this morning as we hit that 90th day, and the judge said no, he would not issue a temporary restraining order.
So at this point, there's nothing else Minnesota can do, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's they could reevaluate. It's obviously they have this one ruling from the Texas court judge who said the issue is not ripe yet, in that the governor hasn't said an official hard no that he would not ever sign an extradition warrant. So let's see. I mean, my next step is, I'm just thinking here is, we have to get this report from the Secretary of State in Texas whether or not, in their mind, Cristian Castro is in fact a fugitive. And if that comes through and then Abbott makes a final decision, then, perhaps more litigation. They could appeal the Fifth Circuit where Texas is. It's similar to our circuit, the Eighth. It's a conservative circuit. It sided with President Trump's mandatory detention policy, just like our district did. So they may not think going up to an appeals level is worth it for them. And they probably want to be careful as they litigate this moving forward that they don't, go too far and upset, a judge or judges down there. They're just going to have to play this out. I mean, there's this possibility. I mean, I think it's completely far-fetched, but in theory, he could pull like Gregory Morgan, the other ICE agent who's accused of pointing a gun at motorists on Highway 62 during the surge. He came and he didn't want to be a fugitive of the law.
We saw him. He
came. He surrendered. There's always that possibility, although that's a long shot because all along, Castro never did that. When the warrant was out for him, he also could have done it while sitting in jail. He could have signed the papers. Like, you didn't have to go to the governor. A defendant could waive his rights to extradition and could have done this over the last 3 months, and he did not. So that would be a doubtful pathway. But yeah, this is just one of those where, we don't know what comes next. We'll be watching it. I just, as I was coming in, you probably saw me going to my laptop. Yeah. I just wanted to check the case file just to see if Minnesota did file anything new today. That they haven't. For now, all we just know is 6:59 a.m. Cristian Castro walked out that jailhouse door in Brownsville, Texas, and for now is I don't even know if he's considered a wanted man. I don't know who. I mean, Minnesota wants him, but they can't send Minnesota law enforcement in and take him out of Texas. So
we keep hearing unprecedented, and it's really things that we have yet to see, and that's sort of why we have to just follow along with the process, and that's why you mentioned, we'll have to just see what happens next, because this one has been an interesting one to follow.
Yeah, from a little bit more, just a little bit more from the Attorney General, disturbed to learn of the release today from Attorney General Allison, describing, that his request was ignored, and that Abbott offered bogus excuses for not signing that have no basis in law or Supreme Court precedent. And then in a social media post yesterday, he wasted no time in publicly revealing his political motivations for not signing. I didn't see what the governor had posted, but yeah, I mean, Minnesota officials are besides themselves, and then really feel this is politics. And just from a reporter sitting here in Minnesota, kind of wondering, what Abbott is thinking, because. He would know that the feds are also investigating this, and that the feds have already publicly accused this guy of lying about the shooting. It is an interesting position to stake out politically, in a red state. I mean, obviously there's a lot of ICE and DHS down there because it's such a huge border state, right, Texas, but if he knows the guy's kind of in hot water with the feds and they had to dismiss charges for him, it just doesn't seem like the type of figure you want to put your political might behind. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're probably, maybe you could come up with a case where it might not be so obvious, but in this one, with the feds interested, with the feds already having to dismiss charges because this guy, lied about what happened, that the feds might charge him any day now, why you wouldn't, just let the legal process play out.
Feel like the answer is clear. Yeah.
So anyway, we don't know, but we will follow it, and he'll keep us busy for a bit here.
Oh, yeah, I know. He has kept you busy for the last few days, Paul. You always do such a great job just breaking it down so we can easily understand, especially when we see something like this on this scale, but then also where things are just kind of fluid and coming in every single day. And so you just do a really good job explaining it. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Of course. All right, we're going to take a break and